Hey, what's up, guys? Got another new video for you. This is Tuned In Sports. My name is Bryson.
I'm Steve.
And in today's video, we're going to do a quick little analysis slash opinion video, I guess you would call it, about the Lions' recent hire of Chris Spielman to the team as the special assistant to the chairman and president and CEO. The news was announced, I believe, yesterday, but we wanted to have a day to think about it and think about what we wanted to say for it. So, anyways, here we go. Let's get into it here today.
This couple of things just before that gets going. They've actually made some moves. Chris wasn't the only one that they brought on.
Yeah.
There's actually 3 other individuals along with Chris that were brought into the mix as well, basically as advisors. And the reality of it is that's basically what Chris is. It's more or less in an advisory position. He's came in specifically to kind of help guide the coaching search and the GM search. Now, with that being said, I don't think there's a better guy for the job than Chris. He spent 8 years in Detroit, beloved by the fans, and he's been a Lion from. He bleeds Lion blue. So, I just feel like he's the right guy, and he wants to see the team get better as much as anybody does. So I'm actually, this is one move that the organization has made that I'm not really going to find fault with. And then one of the other guys that was brought on was Barry Sanders. And he was brought in a similar type position, just basically as an advisory. And, Barry's another guy that, that's all he did was play for the Lions. And, so he's another guy that, has an interest in how the team plays and does. He spent a lot of years there, running like mad for a whole lot of nothing. The team was never able to do anything as far as getting to a Super Bowl or anything like that while he was there. Just really sad state of affairs, kind of a waste of talent. If he would have been on another team that would have been in a similar position as far as there were so many teams that if they would have had Barry Sanders could have won multiple Super Bowls. But unfortunately, for him, fortunately for him, he was able to have a healthy career for the most part, and wasn't injured very often. And, definitely one of the best running backs ever to come through the league. But, as we're talking about this video regarding Chris Spielman being hired, like I said, I'm a big fan of Chris. He's definitely a Lion at heart. And, we need guys like that understand, what the fans are about and what it means to be a Lion. And, he talks about in his interview the one pride scenario and how important, or what that means and what it needs to look like and how it's a special thing, not, it's not just something to be taken lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about trying to change the culture and, get guys on the same page and try to do things that are going to, propel this team forward, into the future. And not take steps backwards, which has been the case so many times. Because over the years, it doesn't matter who the coach is, who the GM is, nothing's ever gotten better. It's virtually been the same garbage all the time. With the exception of a couple of years here and there. Jim Caldwell had some success, but he had so much success they decided to fire him. So that kind of tells you all the missteps that this organization has had. This Sheila Ford Hemp, everything that I've heard come from her mouth seems like, she wants to make the thing happen. She wants it to change. She wants a team that fans can be proud of, you know, and the NFL can be proud of. And, you know, I mean, she seems like she's about trying to change it and get some winning going on rather than all this losing that we're accustomed to. So if that is indeed the case,
this is the first step.
Right. If that is indeed the case, hats off to her. You know, and I really hope it is, because if you don't have the intentions on trying to get competitive or winning Super Bowls or putting a team out there worthy of being on the field, why bother being in it? Yeah. Sell the team to somebody that cares. I mean, this is what it's about. I mean, in my opinion, the league needs to address ownerships like this, you know, that are perennially horrible teams, always picking in the top 5 picks of the draft, this or that. You know, if you're perennially all the time bad, you should be penalized for that. You shouldn't be able to just sit there and continuously have a top 5 pick and never get better. That's not the way it's supposed to happen. That's not the way it's designed. And the league needs to take a harder role in that process, in my opinion. Hit these owners where it hurts. Start finding them. You know, so I mean, we've said
give them some incentive.
Right. I mean, don't sit there and cheat the fans just so you can make your bottom line look good. Because I mean, in my opinion, there's nobody losing money in this league with the contracts, the way they're set up, TV deals, and all this stuff. I mean, everybody's making money. All the owners are, regardless of the astronomical contracts that they're paying some of these players. They're still making money. So, I mean, to me, to have a team, and especially when you look at a team like the Lions, that is one of the oldest teams in the league, there's no excuse for them never to have seen a Super Bowl. Never even watching it on TV.
Never to have even been in one, let alone win one.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact that they've never been in the Super Bowl and they're one of the oldest teams in the league is a crying shame. It just tells you how piss poor the ownership has been. And I blame ownership because that's been the only consistent thing over all the years. I mean, obviously, if ownership doesn't care about putting a winning product on the field, then it doesn't much matter what coach you have or what GM you have. Because ultimately, if they don't want to win, you won't. The ownership will make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can either continue to have fans showing up with bags on their head, you know, or we can get good and everybody wins. Because if you get good, all of a sudden, you know, you got a lot more sales going on. People buying your product. Because there's a million Insta fans out there that as soon as somebody gets good, they go out and buy all the stuff they can. You know? And, I mean, you can be part of that if you start winning. You know? And the Lions actually, I think, are a pretty attractive team as far as uniforms are pretty cool. Helmets are neat. You know? The color combination's pretty neat. So, I mean, to me, it's one of those things where, you know, they could have a lot of this stuff going on. It's just that, for whatever reason, I don't know. I really don't know what to point the finger at, but you know, it hasn't happened. So, but I gotta say, like I said, I'm extremely pleased with this move of bringing Chris Spielman on. Chris is definitely, you know, a guy that's been around the organization. He understands the culture there. He understands, you know, how bad the fans want to see it changed. And, I mean, that's really all I can ask as a fan, is to put people that are football guys in there. You know.
Instead of Rod Wood.
Instead of Rod Wood, you know, some guy that may know how to, you know, figure out the square footage on a building that they're leasing or whatever, and figure out the best deal there. I need a guy that knows, you know, the best talent on the field.
Yeah.
I could care less about whether or not you get a great, you know, lease on the building. You know, the bottom line is, as fans, we care about what the product is on the field, and that's where it stops and starts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you don't have interest in being good, then don't be an owner.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, the fans are ultimately what pays those paychecks anyway. You know, so because I mean, it's the fans that are watching the games. It's the fans that are supporting you, buying stuff on NFL.com, and you know, supporting the Lions through various organizations
and going out and going to the games when
Right.
COVID's not going on.
Right. I mean, they're the ones that are paying these salaries. And in my opinion, as an owner, you owe it to the fans. Because without fans, you don't have a team. There's nothing to own.
Yeah.
You know? And, I mean, in the NFL especially, where they're blessed to be the most popular sport in the world, pretty much. You know? Or definitely in the United States, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to really be focused on trying to be good. You know, I mean, if Ford ran their car company like they run the Lions, they wouldn't be in business.
Yeah.
They wouldn't put cars out that they knew weren't going to run, or put half-ass parts and stuff so where they break down all the time, or you got to fix it. I mean, if they did that, if they took that same approach that they use on the Lions and put it towards the cars, they would not be in business. You know, and it's only because of Ford Motor Company it's afforded them to be able to own the Lions.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just whatever.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense as to what has been going on. I mean, like he said, the only consistent thing is A, they've sucked, and B, the ownership. And I think those things go hand in hand, because I think the ownership has sucked. So, therefore, they've sucked. You know, I feel like if you're trying to turn it around, like this lady claims that she's trying to, you know, first thing that you do is you go out and get people that have the pulse of the Detroit Lions and know what you want, what the fans want, and want to see succeeding. Not just people that don't really have any ties and could really care less. They're just looking to make a paycheck, which I feel like is maybe part of the problem. Is over the years they've hired a bunch of people like Rod Wood, who isn't a football guy, could probably give a crap less about the sport, just wants to make sure the bottom line looks good. Mm-hmm. And he's doing his work on the W-2s. I mean, that's essentially what I think that guy's there for. Because if you're not a football guy, what incentive do you have outside of your own check to want to make the team good? What I mean, if he could give a crap less about the sport, you know. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't like football, but I'm just saying, you know, if he doesn't know football, he doesn't really care to know it, or whatever, what incentive does he have to want to make sure that...
I mean, he'll come out and tell you himself he's not a football guy.
Yeah. That was his first press conference.
You know, I mean,
So it just makes me think like, okay, well, obviously he's not here to make sure you're hitting the Super Bowl, you know? I mean, if he was, then why would he say something like that?
Yeah.
The first thing he said was, I'm not a football guy.
No, he's a businessman.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really what it amounts to.
So, yeah, and that just tells you what the focus is, really, is the business portion of it. So, if you're going to have people like that, they need advisors, they need people that can help them out, and people that can point them in the right direction who know what the hell is going on. And I feel like this is a good step in that direction of what this lady, Hemp, or whatever her name is, Sheila, whatever, is saying, which is that she wants the culture to change. And I feel like bringing in somebody like this is at least an appetizing, a nice appetizer, I guess you would say. Something where you can, sink your teeth into and say, oh, okay, that's not bad. That's good.
They can't they can't really afford not to hit a home run with this next couple of people they bring in. I mean, they've already taken such criticism for this last pair that was just there. And, you know, the Lions fans and everything are so frustrated with this organization, and, you know, nobody's happy about the majority of what's happened since, you know, for a long time, really.
Yeah, that's very well they should be.
Right. I mean, if you're a supporter of this team, and especially if you're a season ticket holder or something like that, half the time you feel like you're getting gypped. Like, you know, what am I paying season ticket prices for?
Yeah, like you care more about it than they do.
Right. I mean, they don't care if the team goes, you know, 3-13 every season. They don't care.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things where, you know, that's why I think, you know, Chris played with a lot of energy. And nobody cares more about the Lions than he does. He does a show every week called, you know, 3 and Out, where he breaks down every game that Detroit plays. He's been in the media side of things for quite a long time now, where he's gone out on the road and, you know, done all the different games, went to, you know, and he said in his interview, or not in his interview, but in his press conference, more or less that, you know, everywhere he's went, he's gotten to meet all the, you know, the owners and, you know, the big shots of a lot of these different teams. And every time he goes, he takes notes and writes down, you know, the points that, you know, when he asks them questions about how they became successful, what do you think the keys are? Mm-hmm. And he writes all this stuff down. And, you know, pretty much said that he's got stacks of books full of notes of, you know, different CEOs and this and that, and how they have become, how they got good.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he doesn't agree with everything he's ever heard or read, you know, and the approach that they may have taken. But nonetheless, you're only going to get smarter by knowing multiple ways to do things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to get more dumb by doing it that way.
Yeah.
The more information you can obtain, the better you're going to be at what you do. And now he's not in any way, shape, or form. He even come out and said that he's not a general manager. He's got no business being in that position, just based on that he's not qualified for it and doesn't, you know. But that doesn't mean he can't be an added addition to this staff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, somebody that should sit in and try to get the hiring correct. Because he cares. He's got a, you know, like you said, he has a pulse on it. He knows what the Lions are like. He played here. He spent a lot of years here. Understands the, you know, the crowds and the, you know, the fans as a whole.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he has an interest in it.
Yeah,
so,
and when you're around it and you're in it, you also know who else is and who maybe isn't.
Right.
You can see through some of the, you know, oh, right, we're signing this guy, but, you know, he doesn't really give a lick about this, that, or the other thing. He just, you know, is only here because nobody else would hire him. Instead of maybe going for that guy, go for somebody that does care and does want to succeed and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it was a good move. And then, you know, on top of that, I mean, you know, they're interviewing, what's his name today, too? Mr. Riddick.
That's on Friday, yeah.
Or Friday, whatever. They're interviewing him, talking to him about potentially taking over as the GM, yeah? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I feel like this edition right here maybe would be another thing that Mr. Riddick would, you know, tip under the cap and say, you know, another reason to be here now. Because say, oh, okay, well, now seems like we're starting to get some people in here that want to see this thing change around, and that's a culture that I'd like to be a part of.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm not going to associate my name with the sinking ship. You know, well, I mean, that's, we're laughing about it, but that's the honest truth of the matter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I feel like a lot of times, you know, sorry to say, but I feel like a lot of times, you know, maybe they haven't made the right hires, but maybe it's partially because, you know, if I'm Bill Belichick or I'm somebody, am I going to want to go over there where they have just a history of just nonstop losing, you know, and then say, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this on. No thanks. I'll pass.
No, I mean, when you've had coaches come over that were coming from winning organizations, like a Steve Mariucci, for example, coming over from San Francisco, I mean, everybody was excited as hell when Steve Mariucci showed up. Because they're like, finally, we got a bona fide coach. We got a guy that's experienced. He's been to Super Bowls and, you know, coached some of the best players in history. And, you know, if this guy knows nothing else, he understands winning.
Yep.
And how to win. And he came in there, it was a total abomination. I mean, and it really never got off the ground. And, you know, so, I mean, I don't know how he looks at his time in Detroit, but I'm sure it's not something that he chooses to think of very often.
Too often, yeah.
I mean, when he looks back on his career, he's not going to say, oh, yeah, stopping Detroit was really worth my time.
Yeah.
You know?
But, I mean, and the other thing is, too, is like, you know, you got, you just got a number of different people that are, you could say the same thing. It's just like, well, you know, yeah, they went there, but, that, I mean, in some respects, people probably look at that and say that's where careers go to die. You know, any good things you had going on, take it over to Detroit and it doesn't work, and then, you know, you're on the unemployment line. How about I just skip that and go to a team where I can succeed? So, I mean, I really feel like, you know, as much as I'm laughing about it, I really feel like that's the truth. It's like some of these owners or maybe these coaches even, and especially players, you know. I mean, I feel like, I mean, if I'm a free agent or if I'm a head coach looking for a position or something like that, you know, unfortunately, I'm going to evaluate a few other places, and then if nothing else pans out, maybe I'll look at the Lions because that's just kind of the stigma that they've made, and that's mostly due to the owners. And I really feel like that's part of the issue, too, is like, you know, people go in there and the expectation is to lose. You know what I mean? Well, at least that's kind of how it feels. It's like, it doesn't matter what I do, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And then, you know, with the same token there being, then you look at it from the fan standpoint, and the expectations are outrageous. I mean, for where the organization is and has been, you know, for a guy like Mr. Caldwell to be fired is pathetic. I mean, yeah, I mean, they were saying like, oh, well, we didn't think he could take us to the next level. But isn't the level that you were at better than you've been for years? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, who the hell cares?
He already was taking us to the next level.
I was going to say, that level is a hell of a lot better than what you'd been the last decade, where you weren't even considered in the playoffs. You were lucky not to finish last in the division. And most times you did. So it's like, I mean, it just really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, just all around, from the organization to stuff. And I really think too, like the Caldwell thing, it's like, good Lord, if that guy actually does get it turned around and has them in the playoffs, that's not good enough for him.
No.
We have to go Super Bowl and win it all, otherwise I could get fired too. So no, it's like, what? That's a no-win situation that you're
exactly
walking
right.
into.
I mean, because unfortunately, everything you do reflects on your future. You know, or not reflects on it, but it impacts your future. So, like you said, I mean, if I'm a coach or somebody like that, all you can do is go by what the history is there. And all you've seen is a bunch of losing, and then you actually saw a coach come in there and win and still was fired.
Mm-hmm.
What's the incentive for you to want to come there?
Yeah.
Like, why would I bother messing with this?
Yeah, when I mean, the expectation is if you don't turn it into Super Bowl, you didn't do your job. But I'm sorry to say, but, you know, are you honestly going to tell me that every single carousel of coach that the Lions have had over the years is incapable of coaching a team? I don't believe it.
No.
One, not one in the however long list of coaches they've had over the years. Not one of them knew how to coach the team. Not a single guy.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, it's a joke.
So to me, it just seems like a no-win situation either way, because you're looking at, especially like I said, I mean, with Caldwell, dude, freaking turned them from a team that was a joke into a team that was in the playoffs more years than not, and he still got fired. So like you said, what incentive do I have as somebody that's either trying to begin my career as a head coach and or has a resume as a head coach and looking to take my talents elsewhere? What incentive do I have to go over to Detroit?
There isn't any.
Where either my stock is going to drop or it's not going to get off the ground because I'm going to be like, holy crap, we see what he did at Detroit. Yeah, that guy's meant to be a coordinator. I mean, if that's like this guy for the Niners, for instance, he comes in there and they have 3 seasons of crap and then he's fired. Well, good luck getting looked at as another head coaching opportunity.
Yeah.
And how much of that is his fault? So I just feel like, I mean, it's a lot of things, but it's perpetuated by the ownership, and then it just makes everything else feel like it's just impossible situation, and the impossible situation created by the ownership has put the coaches in a position where even when they win, they lose. And then when that's going on, it's hard to get the best effort out of them, I believe, as well as that trickles down to the players. And then the players are saying, well, shoot, this guy's going to be out of here in 3 years anyways. So then we're going to have to learn a whole new offense, and who knows what the quarterback's going to be and all this other stuff.
And that goes a large part of why they have a hard time attracting talent there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Bringing free agents in. I mean, who wants to go there?
Yeah, well, that's why I say it trickles down from the ownership into the coaching, into the players, and then once you get that kind of thing, it's like, well, why would I want to go do that? And I mean, on top of that too, it's like you've seen a lot of players come over from other teams that go to Detroit and don't seem to play the same as they do on other teams. And so then again,
or when they leave Detroit, they all of a sudden are great players.
Yeah, but more specifically, the players that start elsewhere and are looking good and then go to Detroit and it seems like they struggle, it's like, why would they want to do that to their career? They want to make the most money as possible and play the best in their, peak years and stuff. And why would they want to go to Detroit and struggle for a couple years so that they can try to go somewhere else and prove their worth again instead of just staying at that high caliber? So, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening, but I think this is a good first start. Like I said, it's an appetizer you can bite your teeth into and say, okay, that's a solid move. Good choice there. And then if they end up hiring Louis Riddick, you say, okay, that's nice. And I think also the other thing is it really started off well when what's her name, made the vendetta or whatever you call it, that, hey, if you guys don't turn this thing around, turn this into a playoff team, you're gone. And she didn't just say that and then, oh, well, there was a lot of factors going into the season, so we think that they still could perform at a high level and we're going to keep them around. No, she canned them halfway through, part of the way through the season. So I think that was probably the first step, and now it seems like they've got some momentum going in terms of, getting some things situated that should equal success, or at least being better moving forward.
No, I agree. I mean, and the CEO, I mean, the GM position and the coach position are two positions that really need to be hand in hand. those two guys, whoever they are that are going to be hired, need to be on the same page. Communication is the key point of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the decision making has to be, there needs to be more than one person making the decisions. I mean, it needs to be a collective group of people saying, okay, who's going to best help this team? Who's, as far as bringing in talent and things of that nature. I don't think you can have a GM, with a totally different mindset than the coach has.
Yep.
And expect there to be progress. I just think that leads to more problems than it does anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it's a blame game at that point. Like, oh, well, you're the one that drafted this fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's not performing. I wanted this guy. Look at him. He's playing on Washington now, and he's making all kinds of tackles and he's going to make the Rookie of the Year status. Well, meanwhile, you told me to draft this guy, and, he's fumbled the ball more than he's hung on to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, like you said, I mean, it's a vicious circle.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then the other thing is, whoever comes in there, set your pride aside. You know what I mean? Like, enough of this, oh, well, he's not the guy we want mentality, so we're going to fire him and bring in our guy. You know what I mean? Do what's best for the team. Enough of this, we're going to do what we think is best for the team in our eyes, and that, put our stamp on it. We don't want your stamp. We want victories. We don't care who does it at this point.
We don't really care how we get there.
We don't care if it's done your way. I mean, and the funny thing about that is like, you think about how bad the Lions have been. If anybody, no matter how they do it, comes in there and turns that around and by some miracle gets them in Super Bowl contention, forget winning the damn thing, but especially if they won, but just putting them in contention, get them maybe past the first round or something, they will be paraded in the streets. Heroes in Detroit, It doesn't even matter.
Yep.
They won't care how they did it because they've been so bad for so long that these people would be worshipped.
Yep.
They wouldn't be like, oh, well, technically you did it with this guy's person and, he brought in the quarterback, so he deserves... No, forget all that. They're going to look at you like a god. All you got to do is do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't care if, you did it by bringing in your people or you use the last person's people or you use the person before them. I mean, Stafford was drafted back before Jim Bob Cooter and some of these fools. So, I mean, we're still talking about Jim Schwartz and possibly even the guy before him. And, I mean, if he's the one that takes you there, fans aren't going to give a crap whether or not he was drafted by you guys.
Nope.
By your coaching staff or whatever. If a win is a win, and if they get things turned around, they're not going to be skeptical of you. They don't have any reason to.
No.
You don't have a history of winning.
No.
Like I said, you guys are going to be looked at as heroes. Saviors. You know what I mean?
Especially in the Lions case.
That's what that's what I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, because out of all the teams in Detroit, the Lions are the only ones that really haven't won anything ever.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tigers have won, the Pistons have won, and the Red Wings have won.
Yeah.
The Lions have never won anything.
The Red Wings. I mean, it was a more regular thing that they won than they didn't, and same can be said for the Tigers, at least for a few years.
No, the Tigers have
and the Pistons for a span of time there. All three of them were
pretty decent.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't. They were in the conversation of teams that could win a championship. And that's really all you can ask for as a fan is to be relevant.
Yeah.
And I mean, so this whole thing with the Lions trying to figure out this GM and coaching search, to me is definitely one of the biggest, to-dos. They need to get it right.
Yeah.
Because they need to and Rod Wood said it best. when he was on there, he said we need to hire the people, or actually Chris Spielman said it. He said we need to get the right people in place and let them do their job. Like, not, let them do what they need to do to get it right.
Yep.
Don't step in and say, no, well, this isn't making business sense. Fuck that. Let's get a team here. Let's get something everybody can be proud of, because ultimately, if we're winning, then everything's going to win for you. Because now all of a sudden, you're going to have full stadiums all the time. You're going to have fans buying more gear than you've ever had buy in the past. Uh-huh. You're going to have all kinds of, good things happening because you're winning.
Yep.
If you're not winning and it continues to go down the path that it's going on, well, you might as well, close up shop, because, the fans are already sick of losing. They're already wearing bags to the games and stuff like that over their heads. So it's stupid.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's at that point where, we're beyond the point of, we're just having a few bad seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a few bad seasons on top of a few bad seasons.
It's been a few bad decades.
And then, like we say, you finally start to not have some bad seasons. You bring in Patricia and fire the guy that's the winningest coach in Lions history. You bring in Patricia and he takes it back to where it was before. But,
and said he had a lot of work to do when he got there.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What kind of mindset is that? We had a lot of work to do. Really? You have a playoff team on your hands.
Yeah.
You got a lot of work to do?
You have maybe a lot of work to do.
It didn't take him very long to break it down, that's for sure.
Yeah. He had a lot of work.
I'll give him credit. He tore it down in a hurry. They went from relevant to nothing again in no time flat.
He had a lot of work to do to get him from playoffs to where they ended up.
Yeah.
They had a lot of players.
They did that well.
They had a lot of key pieces that needed to be traded away before he got them to where they thought they should be, right at the bottom.
Yep.
Yeah, so, like I said, I feel like firing Matt Patricia and the other chick was a really good start. Not the other chick. The other guy was a really good start, because they told him, hey, if you don't get it figured out, then you're gone. And they followed through on that. So I feel like that was the first step. And then with the signing of this guy, as well as, if they were to get Louis Riddick or somebody else. And, I was even hearing potential about, Jim Harbaugh being having a pretty high percentage chance to go there, because I don't know what I'm sure that was just like a poll or something created, but nonetheless, I have no doubt that he would be somebody that would take the job, despite the things. The only thing that I would say is that hopefully, the other thing about this is whoever they do bring in, I'm probably in the same boat in terms of the Patricia regime of, that guy needed to go. I think he did a really crummy job, and I also believe that he wasn't very well liked, at least by players and stuff. And I just don't think the aura around the team was very good. However, what I will say is that, in general, you got to give people time to get it turned around, as opposed to firing them before they even really get a chance to get their feet off the ground. Otherwise, you'll constantly be looking for the next guy. Because at that, especially on the Lions, for the most part, nobody's going to come in there and have that team from 0 to hero overnight. Anybody that's going to do it is going to need more than, a season. And they got to give these people time to actually get it turned around, or it never will.
Well, I've always kind of liked the Steelers' way of doing things. You know, I mean, when they bring a coach in there, that coach is there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Tomlin's been there for however long, and Cowell was there for
However
forever.
long before that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it wasn't like a 3-year and I'm out deal. I mean, they were there forever. And so, with that being said, it's just one of those things where that's stability within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's what guys that are, looking for jobs and stuff want. They want stability. They want to know that I have time to get things done. And so, I mean, when that Steelers job ever comes open, there's going to be a million guys in line for that job. And, they're guaranteed to get a good hire.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because they know that they're going to have a very good chance of, being able to get the people they want in there.
Yeah. I mean, you even have some interest from people that are set in their jobs. Looking at that one.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, if that came open, I mean, that would be exactly what the case would be. Where, I mean, I think people largely look at Detroit as well as a few other teams, like maybe the Jets or whatever, the Browns up until recently, as jobs where it's a revolving door. Go here, spend a couple of years, and leave.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I mean, I feel really bad for guys like Stafford that have some ability and some really good talent, and have just had to deal with, a constant revolving door of coaches, learning new offensive systems, and watching good talent leave based upon the fact that that organization felt like, oh, this guy's not what we need anymore. I mean, I still don't understand why we got rid of Golden Tate. I mean, there was nothing wrong with Golden Tate. The guy was productive as hell.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was one of those things, well, he's old, getting his contracts, I mean, we don't really want to pay him. Okay, well, instead we're going to bring in somebody else that we don't know if they're good or not. I mean, when you have proven talent and the guy is productive and he's going to give you what you want, I mean, it's stupid.
To watch him, go.
And I mean, I think we're
elsewhere.
going to be in a situation now with Kenny Galladay where I think we're going to have a hell of a hard time keeping him there.
Yeah.
Why is he going to sign up for this? He's going to go through another coaching change and another regime. And then especially if Stafford leaves, I mean, he's not going to stay.
Well, yeah, and especially when they're not willing to pay him what he's looking for or whatever on top of it. And he's like, shoot, you guys should be bending to me because, I mean, look what I'm signing myself up for here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, I think, I mean, and that's a crying shame because I really believe in Galladay's case, he is one of the better receivers in the league. I mean, he's got size, he's got great hands, he generally doesn't drop balls, very solid player. I mean, definitely one of the better receivers in the league. And so it's very depressing when you see stuff like that taking place where
all you hear about him is him possibly being on the way out.
Right. I mean, we lose very good players all the time. And then usually most of them are leaving disgruntled.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, that's just a sign of shitty organization.
Yeah.
It is. It's a sign of shitty organization.
Yeah.
When you got players leaving there with the idea that, I can get much better somewhere else. And that's, and that's a direct finger point at the Lions ownership.
Mm-hmm.
You want your reputation to be that nobody wants to play there? I mean, if I'm the Fords, I wouldn't want that. I mean, if they're Ford Motor Company, if everybody said, if you want customers to say, I'm not touching a Ford?
Yeah, probably
Ford's
not.
the worst car ever made. Why would I fucking bother? I mean, that's basically what you're doing with the fans of Detroit. You're shitting all over them. And I mean, I really think that it's a crying shame. And, I mean, this like I said, this hiring process for the CEO or for the GM and the coach, they've got to hit on it. They need to get somebody in there, get a guy like Louis Riddick, whoever, come in there, Get that GM position solidified. Now, have enough pride to fucking step out of the way and let him do what he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do not get involved in the operations. He's a football guy. Let him make the football decisions. You know?
Yeah.
Let the coach do what he needs to do. I'm confident that if Louis Riddick comes in there, he'll put the pieces in place. You know? I mean, I think he'll put the pieces in place to have Detroit relevant again in a quick hurry. Because I really don't feel like they're far away anyway. I really feel like they got enough talent, you know, offensively anyway, to play. And to win a lot of football games. You know? I really do. I've always felt like the talent on the team is, you know, there's more talent than what the record shows.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt that. Now, defensively, I don't know. I really don't. You know, because I think Patricia was trying to bring in all these New England Patriot guys that were either past their prime or whatever, because they could, you know, get them in there for less money or whatever. And we know Matt's system. Well, big fucking deal. As far as I'm concerned, it didn't work because they had one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's probably some revamping of the defense that needs to happen. You know, I think Okuda could be a decent player once he, you know, but he's out for the season.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, like with the offense, not losing people, too. I mean, not losing Galladay. I mean, you got to, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I think, you know, in some respects, Ebron is kind of making it seem like, you know, he was probably maybe worth keeping around. But if he wasn't, Hawkinson definitely is. I mean, if they let him walk out of there, that's going to be a huge mistake on the part of the Lions. And then at the running back position, you know, I mean, I don't really know what to say about the running back position because they've had a slew of guys that I thought were good to more than serviceable to really good that they didn't seem to share that opinion of. I mean, seriously, like, you know, we're going all the way back. I mean, we can go back a while back to Abdullah in some respects. I mean, he was not bad. Yeah, he had an issue with fumbling the ball, but, I mean, if you just... I mean, I feel like growth, practice, and just hammering it into him that, hey, hold on to it and just drilling nonstop, he would have been just fine.
Yep.
And then, you know, speaking of Riddicks, you know, Theo Riddick, the running back, I thought he was more than capable of, you know, doing what they needed to do. I thought he was a good fit.
Yeah.
They said bye to him. Yeah. Kerryon Johnson, if he stays healthy, he can do anything that you need him to. I watched it at Auburn. That guy is a monster.
No.
They're looking like they're going to be saying bye to him. Because I don't know why you'd bring in Swift and then Adrian Peterson when you already got the future. Mm-hmm. So apparently he's not the future. So, I mean, it's just a slew of just, what on earth? Why? You know, I just don't know. I don't know why. I mean, why are we needing to replace people? And then, you know, pretty much all through the trade deadline, the talks were, you know, who wants to trade for Marvin Jones and stuff like that. Again, why? Week to week, he's the best player on the Lions. Receiving core. I mean, part of that is because Galladay's hurt, but from what I've watched, he's as good, if not better, than anybody that the Lions have on receiving.
Yeah.
And all that talks about with him is trades. Oh. So it's just, I mean, that's the biggest thing, and it even goes to my team as well. It's like, well, if you'd hold on to these people and pay them, we wouldn't have to replace them. I mean, it's one thing to bring in pieces But when these pieces you're bringing in are just to replace people you're losing, you're not getting better.
Yeah.
You're just refueling with the same positions.
Yeah.
But we don't want to refuel the same positions. We want to fill the positions and then work on needs we have in other positions. Yeah. Not just like, oh, here we go. Well, looks like we're going to be needing to draft another receiver because between Golden Tate and, Marvin Jones and Galladay and these guys leaving or whatever, well, we have a need at that position. Well, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't have a need at the position, but because you didn't, put the pride or whatever aside and re-sign these people who are assets to your team, now you need to refill those positions.
Yeah.
When there's no reason that you needed to do that. And
No.
you're not improving by going in there and drafting a running back in the second round every year.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I will say I'm impressed with Swift. I think he was the right move. I think he's turned out to be a good move for them. And I'm not taking anything away from Kerryon Johnson. I think there is a time and a place for him.
No, I think he's good, but I'm just saying, he wasn't necessarily a need or anything, and especially if you're bringing in Adrian Peterson, that's a solid 1-2 right there. Now, the majority of the weeks, you have one, if not two of those guys hardly getting touches.
No.
And that's way too much talent wrapped up at the running back position for people not to even be seeing the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's way too much. And especially when you consider that at some point you're going to have to pay these people. That could be a lot of money wrapped up in one position where you only have one guy on the field at a time. And not only that, but then you consider the fact that they half the time hardly run the ball anyways. So it's like, why are you spending all these draft picks and stuff drafting running backs when you never run the ball? Swift, from that standpoint, from that standpoint, Swift was a good person to bring in because he's good at catching the ball out of the backfield. So, I feel like at some point you just got to say, hey, you know what? We're a team that throws the ball and runs draws and stuff like that, but the focus is the passing game. Maybe that's what they need to do. I don't know. But all I can say is...
Depends on who the coach is.
All I can say is, with how much they run the ball in the last couple years, you wouldn't know that they got, drafted running backs in the first and second round consecutive seasons in a row. Because they hardly use them. So it's like, that needs to change.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you had, defensive players or defensive linemen or offensive linemen for that matter. They could still be helpful right now.
No, I know. Well, I look at Ashawn Robinson as a perfect example.
Yeah.
They let him go. He was a first-round pick, and now he's playing great for some other team.
Yeah. And he played good for the Lions, too. Why? That, again, there's another one that's like, instead of refilling that position by, now we need to draft for that position. Well, you didn't need to because you had a guy. You had a fine player, but you let him walk.
Yeah.
So refilling his position with a guy that's as good or maybe not as good is not getting your team better. Yep. It's just a lateral move. Like we talk about in the basketball videos all the time. Lateral moves.
Yeah.
They don't help you. They may not hurt you, but they also don't help you.
Yeah.
And that's what the new regime of coachings, GMs, whatever, need to do differently. Because I feel like that's what the Lions do all the time. Is instead of, just saying, hey, these are our guys moving forward, they're constantly trying, another one, Okuda, he might turn out to be a decent player, but you didn't need a decent player at the corner. You needed a decent number 2 guy, but you had a number 1. And you traded him away.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. Thank you. I love having Slay on my team, but I'm just saying, you didn't need a new corner to go in there and take over the reins. You had one.
Yeah.
So it just, the new regime, that's something they need to do differently. And I feel like, you start getting people in there that know football, that want to win and stuff like that, maybe they will. But I'm also not saying, that was on Rod Wood, that he's the one deciding to let go of these people in terms of personnel, because that's GMs and coaching staff usually. But still, I mean, that's why we say, or that's why Dad has said multiple times in this video, they need to get this right.
Yeah.
Not have another Patricia Quinn situation where these guys come in there and get rid of everybody for practically nothing to bring in their guys, and then their guys don't pan out, so they left you with basically a broken down team that has a lot of, now you have a lot of work to do.
Right. No,
you know what I mean? Whereas before you really didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Reggie Ragland or whatever talking about the talent of the Chiefs. I don't know if I'd go that far, maybe, but still, I mean, you have a lot more work to do than you did when they took over. Yeah. And had they not gotten rid of all those guys in favor of past Patriot players, could be looking at a different team.
No,
right
I
now.
Totally agree. It's well said.
Yeah, but
well said.
Anyways, I think we've rambled on enough about this. We'll be releasing more content, sharing our thoughts. Some combination of people will be doing that when they do go ahead and make the GM hire as well as the coach. We'll definitely be sharing our thoughts on that. But until then, kind of a wait and see, I guess. Like I said, I think this signing here was a good step in the right direction. Let's see if they can keep that momentum going and make the right decisions on coaches and GM.
I'm really happy, too, that, they're getting this GM position hired first, I believe. To me, that's an important piece. Just because, like you said, you don't want to have situations where you're always worried about, well, that's not my guy. But I think in terms of the GM, I think the GM position should be the position that hires the coach. Because I really believe, let the GM kind of bring a guy in there that kind of has the same philosophy as the coach has.
Mm-hmm.
Let him kind of work through that so that, things are going to work much easier if people are of kind of like the same mindset and have the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
Opposed to, you got two guys butting heads going, well, I didn't like this player. I had to bring him in because you wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
And this, that, and the other. And then, like I said, then you start doing the finger pointing game and all that kind of stuff taking place. And, it just sets you back. And, ultimately it leads to your demise.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it's just one of those things where, these GMs are basically tied to the coaches now. That's the way it works. And, that's why, places like Pittsburgh and that are so refreshing is because, you can be a coach at the Steelers for 20 years.
Yep.
For 15 years if you know what you're doing. And
Yep.
you are progressively keeping the team, competitive all the time. And, especially in Detroit's case, from a fan standpoint, I really don't believe that it would take a whole lot to have the fans, be, in full support of you. If you start making playoffs, the expectations, everybody wants to win a Super Bowl. And, I realize as soon as you start making playoffs, then the expectations are going higher and higher. And people start getting upset when you're not doing more than what you already are. But, we've been in such a misery for so long that if you could even start making playoffs on a consistent basis, I think, like you said, you'd be a god.
Yeah.
Literally, you'd probably never have to pay for a single thing you ever went into in Detroit. You could go anywhere you wanted to eat and never have to pay for a meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they'd be so happy that you actually have turned the ship around. And so, I mean, this is, like I said, in my opinion, this is the biggest hiring that this organization has ever made, in my opinion. This ownership needs to get this right. Now is the time. Let's get the right GM in there, and let's please bring in the right coach.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like Chris Spielman said, let these guys do their job. Stay out of the way and let them run it. Don't get involved and try to sit there and put your 2 cents in when you're not a football guy. Or, whatever. I mean, it's just let the people that you hire go in and have free reign to do what they need to do. Let them turn it around. Because if you're going to hold them accountable for how this team performs, but yet you're going to sit there and put your finger on everything that they do, you can't expect to see results.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously doing what they've done has already proven to me and to them that you can't win.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing that needs to change. Is they need to keep their asses out of it. Let the people that know what they're doing do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Let the football guys take care of the football. And, let the people that are not football guys take care of the leasing on the buildings and stuff like that. Because, okay, maybe that's what they do well. But that should have no impact on what you do as a football team. That's two different pieces of the puzzle. That should have no bearing on how good this team is.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this team should be performing at a high level. If you want a team, let's win. Let's try to win. So, with that being said, I agree. We've spent an awful lot of time on, on something that most people would consider to be not worth talking about, especially where the Lions are concerned.
Yeah.
But for me, it's important because it's a big piece of the puzzle moving forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like again, you got to take certain steps in the right direction, and I feel like you got to start somewhere, and just getting some momentum going with getting a few people, even in spots that are really kind of behind the scenes a little bit, can have a big impact on your team, for sure. Yeah. So I feel like this was a good move for sure. Yeah. All right, so with that being said, though, guys, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Check out our other football content, as well as we got some basketball, college football, some UFC stuff, boxing out, as well as we got some baseball videos as well. And make sure you check those out. Also, make sure you go over and check out Dent Sports. They got Steve and Don have their own channel, Denver Detroit Sports. So make sure you check that out as well. And with that being said, guys, this has been Bryson and Steve, and we'll see you guys in the next video.